Y'all know I'm on team Let the Birth Rate Plummet to Hell. And I love these articles when they drop because we start getting the numbers in the spring, and throughout the spring, they are analyzing the numbers and what they mean. So we have a Newsweek article that's showing graphs of the decline of birth rate here in the United States. So let's look at it. Newsweek has created a graph to show how births in the United States have declined over the last 50 years. This has happened for every age group, fluctuating across the decades, rising steadily in the 80s and 90s, and declining sharply after 2008, according to the UN Population Division. So we all know what happened in 2008. We were in a recession. It's going to be interesting to see what happens as a result of this Trump administration and this stagflation that he is putting us in. It's going to be interesting to see how the birth rate next year is impacted. Anyways, let's keep with this article. All right, it says, for context, America is one of the many countries around the world struggling with falling birth rates. It says fertility rates, but I like to call it birth rates because I don't really think that we are struggling with fertility. I think that we are struggling with the urge to actually have babies right now. So I'm going to say birth rates are projected to average 1.6 births per woman over the next 3 decades, according to the Congressional Budget Office's latest forecast released this year. This number is well below the replacement level of 2.1 births per woman required to maintain a stable population without immigration. And we also know that Trump is pushing away, making sure to drive away immigrants. So we're going to have a population contraction based on what we're seeing right now. And the thing is, we have been at 1.6 births per woman for a while. I think that we could do a little bit better. I think we can get it to 1.5, 1.4. We just got to try a little bit harder, ladies. Let's get this down. Let's get it down, down, down. The Trump administration has made this issue one of its priorities. The White House exploring giving women a baby bonus of a whole $5,000, according to an April New York Times report. A whole $5,000 that won't barely even cover labor, let alone anything that has to do with the kids, like buying stuff or paying for shelter for 2 months or anything. These people are absolutely ridiculous with their ideas. The birth rate situation in America. Different age groups have been affected differently by the shifts in births. While mothers between the ages of 50 and 54 had no babies in 1975, this number gradually increased to more than 100 over the years and was 159 last year. Conversely, teen pregnancies have drastically and consistently declined since 1975, when there were close to 600,000 before this number started to go down in the early 2000s to just over 136,000 in 2024. So from almost 600,000 to a little bit over 136,000. I think that we can get that number down because obviously teenagers having children in this economy is not going to be helpful. Obviously, it's not going to always be consensual, so we do have to factor that in. The issue with a lower number of births taking place while the elderly live longer means that the country is headed for a time when there are more elderly dependent people than there are working age people. So this country wants folks to have babies so that we can take care of the elderly, yet they do nothing to subsidize the cost of having babies. They do nothing to create these safety nets. Matter of fact, they strip away safety nets. So there is no incentive. Actually, they disincentivize women to have babies in this country. There's no childcare. It costs more to live these days. So why would women have babies simply so the elderly can be taken care of? The government's going to have to come up with, they're going to have to put on their thinking cap. Think. So Newsweek gave us this aggregated graph right here. And I will admit, I do not understand this particular graph. When they pull out the age ranges over the time frame from 1975 to 2025, then the graphs make sense. So here we have the teenagers, 15 to 19. You can see where it was at 600,000 and it has steadily declined. What I like to see about these graphs are the teenagers are declining as far as birth rates. The 20-somethings, the young 20-somethings are declining. So it was like over 1 million. And it's still pretty high, but for the 20 to 24-year-olds, you see the steady decline. The 25 to 29-year-olds, so the age that women used to have babies used to be in the early 20s. but now the average age has pushed up to 27. So this is where the majority of us are having babies. Now, you can see where there has been an incline has been the 30-somethings. So you see down here, it looks like it was about 500,000 in 1975, and the 30-somethings, the young 30-somethings, has been steadily increasing. I actually had my first child when I was 33, so I'm a part of this trend, having babies later. And then you see over here, this is the 35 to 39-year-olds. You see that their numbers were really low in 1975, and it has increased as well. The 40-somethings, the early 40-somethings, very low, 1975, and still pretty low, but it is still one of the age brackets that is actually increasing versus the younger women who are decreasing. So obviously this is a good thing because these women are deciding to be more financially stable versus, having the babies up here before they actually have financial stability. So yay to all of that. This is an interactive graph from Newsweek. So if you were to click an age demographic in that year, it would tell you how many women had babies at a particular time. Last year, over 10,000 women aged 45 to 49 had babies, over 10,000. So obviously these women are going to be more financially stable than these other demographics up here. And obviously that's a generalization, but still that was very interesting to see as far as that number goes. Many trying to tackle this issue have focused on public health policies and financial plans, often citing the 2008 financial crisis, its effect on housing, inflation, and pay as a major contributor to why people delay having children, have fewer of them, or to not have them at all. Parental leave, improved child care services, and financial independence in general are all things advocates call for in the hopes of making it easier for people to have children. And if they would also listen to women, women are clamping down on their wombs on purpose. Women are also saying, and this is not being addressed, that they need men to tap into parenting so that the women are not taking on the majority of or the lion's share of the parenting in the household situation. So that is one of the things that I'm seeing as women talk about why they are opting out or in of parenting. This part makes sense, but this country doesn't do things that make sense. It says right here, meanwhile, the United States could make childbirth free for privately insured families in an effort to tackle declining birth rates. But they don't do anything that makes sense here. They make things really expensive and then think that women are just going to take all of this on and, raise up all these kids, as expensive as it is, while taking away social safety nets, while income is not keeping up with inflation. It literally makes no sense. They don't have anybody that has any foresight in the government actually making real life solutions where you can tell that they actually talk to potential parents or women. The Bipartisan Supporting Healthy Moms and Babies Act, which would designate maternity care as an essential health benefit under the ACA, was introduced in the Senate in May. Beth Jaros, a senior program director of the U.S. programs at the Population Reference Bureau, said that reducing healthcare costs is important, but may not be enough to move the needle on births. The cost of childcare is just one of the many costs of having a child, and people are also reeling from the much bigger cost of childcare, housing, and other necessities, she told Newsweek. Yes, please listen to women, but they won't. I want to get to this comment. Fly's Ointment says the birth rate has declined due to younger generations having noped out of marriage due to the effects of end-stage capitalism, insufficient wages, and healthcare. It is what happens when plutocrats try to extract the last bit of wealth from the masses, such that masses don't feel they have the base economic security to raise a family. Folks like Vance can't have it both ways. If you want to reverse the birth rate trend, you cannot simultaneously advocate for autocratic plutocracy. So you can, we can debate if they are doing a plutocracy or not. I'd say a theocracy, but regardless what they're doing right now with only a handful of people sitting on a mountain of money and everybody else food and money insecure, like why would you have babies right now and you know that you can't pay for them? Anyways, let me know what you think about all of this. Join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, share. Are you on team let the birth rate plummet to hell? Raise your hand.